This free step-by-step video comes to you directly from Haynes, creators of the world's best repair manuals. Fix your car or truck the right way with our accurate and reliable information at your side. You can complete more than 200 jobs on this vehicle when you purchase the complete online manual at Haynes.com.
Pull the hood release lever located on the driver's side kick panel. Lift the hood safety latch, then raise the hood upwards. Loosen the cable bolt from the negative battery terminal, then disconnect the negative battery cable. Position the cable aside to prevent accidental reconnection. Cooling system draining. Remove the expansion tank cap. Move a large container under the radiator drain to catch the coolant. The drain valve is located on the lower left side of the radiator. Working from the engine compartment, remove the drain hose from its support and direct it into the container. Then open the drain fitting. A pair of pliers may be required to turn the fitting. On some models, the drain fitting may be accessed easier by working from the fender well. Attach a length of hose to the fitting, open the valve, and allow the coolant to drain into the drain pan. When the coolant is draining, check the condition of the radiator hoses, heater hoses, and clamps. Replace any damaged clamps or hoses. When the flow of coolant stops, tighten the drain plug securely. Dispose of the used coolant properly. Remove the engine cover. Loosen the hose clamps at each end, detach the upper radiator hose retaining clip, then disconnect the intake tube and resonator ports and remove it from the engine. Loosen the hose clamp, unclip the smaller hose from the radiator hose brackets, then disconnect the upper radiator hose from the water pump. Unclip and position the upper radiator hose out of the way of the fan shroud. Remove the fan shroud push pin fasteners at each end. Remove the fan shroud mounting bolts. Unclip any remaining hoses, then remove the upper fan shroud. Use a large wrench and hammer to break loose the fan clutch retaining nut. The drive belt should keep the pulley from turning as the fan nut is loosened. If a hammer is needed to loosen the nut, be extra careful not to chip the cooling fan blades. Unscrew and detach the fan clutch assembly from the engine. Remove the engine cover. Loosen the hose clamps at each end. Detach the upper radiator hose retaining clip, then disconnect the intake tube and resonator ports and remove it from the engine. To remove the main drive belt, rotate the tensioner with a box end wrench to release belt tension. Slide the belt off of an accessible pulley, then release the tensioner to its stopping point. Remove the belt from the engine. Disengage the hose clamps, then remove the lower radiator hose and heater hoses from the thermostat and water pump housing. Unbolt and remove the water pump assembly from the engine. Remove the water pump gaskets from the engine or water pump. Unbolt the drive belt tensioner and thermostat from the water pump. These components will be installed onto the new pump after the pump has been mounted on the engine. Clean the sealing surfaces of all gasket material on both the water pump and the block. Wipe the mating surfaces with a rag saturated with lacquer thinner or acetone. Apply a thin layer of RTV sealant to both sides of the new gaskets before installing the pump, and lay the gaskets evenly against the pump. Insert a couple of mounting bolts through each of the pumps to keep the gaskets aligned. Place the water pump in position on the engine and install the bolts finger tight. Use caution to ensure that the gaskets don't slip out of position. Tighten the 6 water pump mounting bolts in a crisscross pattern to the specified torque settings. Clean the thermostat mating surfaces on the engine and thermostat, then install a new thermostat assembly. Tighten the thermostat mounting bolts to the specified torque setting. Install the drive belt tensioner and thread in the mounting bolts. Tighten the drive belt tensioner mounting bolts to the specified torque setting. Install the lower radiator hose onto the housing cover, then secure the hose with the clamp. If the hose clamp is a screw-type clamp, be careful not to over-tighten it or it may puncture the hose. Connect the heater hoses and secure them with the clamps. To install the main drive belt. Install the belt loosely over the pulleys in the correct routing, then rotate the tensioner to allow the belt to be slipped onto the pulley. Once the belt is fitted around all the pulleys, release the tensioner to apply tension to the belt. Make sure the belt is engaged completely into the pulley grooves. Install the intake tube and resonator assembly ports onto the throttle body and air filter housing. Also attach the upper radiator hose clip to the intake tube. Tighten the hose clamps at each end securely. Install the fan clutch assembly onto the water pump pulley. Using a fan wrench with a square drive hole at the end, insert a torque wrench into the hole and tighten the fan clutch nut to the specified torque setting. Install the upper fan shroud into the engine. Install the fan shroud mounting bolt and push pin fasteners at each side. Connect the upper radiator hose and secure the hose clamp. Secure any remaining hoses or clips onto the top of the fan shroud. Install the intake tube and resonator assembly ports onto the throttle body and air filter housing. Also attach the upper radiator hose clip to the intake tube. Tighten the hose clamps at each end securely. Connect the negative battery cable to the battery terminal and tighten the cable bolt securely. Cooling system filling. Place the heater temperature control in the maximum heat position. Slowly fill the expansion tank with the correct mixture of antifreeze and water to the fill cold mark. With the surge tank cap off, start the engine and let it idle for about a minute. Install the cap on the surge tank, but don't tighten it yet. Pressure must be able to escape. Raise the engine speed to approximately 3,000 RPM in 30-second cycles until the engine reaches normal operating temperature and the thermostat opens. Turn the engine off. Remove the surge tank cap. If there is any hissing noise coming from the tank, wait until it stops, then remove the cap. Add coolant to the tank until the level is ½ inch above the fill cold mark. Then repeat this process of starting the engine with the cap on loosely, raising the engine speed to fast idle, then turning the engine off. With the engine cool and the coolant now circulated through the cooling system, remove the expansion tank cap. Add coolant again as necessary to bring the level ½ inch above the fill cold mark on the tank. Install the surge tank cap securely.